Have you ever felt something wasn't quite right in how your adult children treat you, but couldn't put your finger on it? Do you sometimes feel like you're slowly fading into the background of your own life? What if subtle shifts in your relationship were quietly eroding your dignity, your independence, and even your identity without anyone realizing it? As we grow older, the relationship we have with our children begins to shift. Some of those changes are natural, like when they want to help more or check in frequently. But not all changes are harmless. Some are so subtle, they slip under the radar, yet they have the power to slowly chip away at the very core of who you are. This video is about protecting what you've spent your entire life building, your identity. It's not about conflict or drama. It's about recognizing what undermines your self-worth and learning how to respond with quiet strength and calm self-respect. We'll dive into 5 specific things you should never let your kids do to you as you age. These are not just minor annoyances or bad habits. Left unaddressed, they can make you feel powerless, question your own decisions, or worse, feel invisible in your own home. We'll uncover real warning signs, emotional patterns, and the deeper impact these behaviors can have on how you feel about yourself. And most importantly, we'll explore how to respond, not with confrontation, but with clarity, not from anger, but from a deep love and respect for yourself. By the time we finish, you may view certain moments in your life differently. You might even feel more confident in setting healthy boundaries that protect your dignity and independence, and maybe even improve your connection with your children in the long run. Let's begin. Number 1. Taking over your decisions without asking. One of the most telling signs that something may be out of balance in your relationship with your adult children is when they start making decisions for you, without asking, without discussion, and often without realizing the message it sends. They start making decisions for you without asking what you think first. In the beginning, it might feel like they're simply being helpful. Maybe they schedule your doctor's appointments, suggest what you should eat, or make weekend plans without checking if you're free. Their intentions may seem kind, even thoughtful, but the way they go about it can slowly make you feel like your voice doesn't matter anymore. As you age, the people around you, especially your adult children, may begin to assume you're not as capable as you once were. They might do little things like choose your clothes for the day or order your meal at a restaurant, thinking it's convenient or efficient. These actions may appear harmless, even trivial. But when they begin to pile up, something shifts. You start to notice that your preferences are being ignored. Your opinions no longer seem to factor into decisions. Gradually, you find more and more choices being made for you, without you. And while many older adults recognize this, they often remain silent. You might tell yourself, they're just trying to help, or, it's easier if I don't push back. And yes, in the moment, it might feel simpler to go along with it. But something subtle and important begins to change. You start questioning yourself. You hold back from sharing your thoughts. You stop expressing your likes and dislikes. Eventually, you realize you're living a life shaped by someone else's choices, not your own. What's important to understand is that this behavior doesn't always come from a place of control or disrespect. Often, it's rooted in care, worry, or love. But that doesn't lessen the emotional toll. It can still leave you feeling unseen, like your voice has lost its value. And that quiet loss of independence, however small it may seem, can deeply affect your confidence and your sense of who you are. It's essential to remember, accepting support is one thing, but handing over control of your life, especially when it's not necessary, is something else entirely. There's a big difference between offering help and taking over. One is supportive, the other can feel suffocating. You have every right to speak up and say, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but I'd prefer to handle this myself. That simple statement isn't rude. It's not being ungrateful. It's about protecting your dignity, something no one else can do for you. If you've noticed this dynamic showing up in your life, you're not alone. Countless older adults go through this subtle but powerful shift without fully recognizing what's happening. It's easy to chalk it up to aging or just the natural flow of time. But beneath it all is something more personal and profound. Your inner drive to stay connected to your identity, your independence, and your rightful place in the world. The good news is, reclaiming that space doesn't require conflict. It doesn't mean pushing people away. It simply means stepping forward, gently, respectfully, and with quiet confidence. You don't have to make a big speech or draw a hard line. Just start small. Speak up when it counts. Express your preferences clearly. Say no when something doesn't feel right. And remind the people around you, perhaps even remind yourself, that you are still capable, still thoughtful, and still very much in control of your own journey. Because growing older shouldn't mean becoming invisible. It should mean being seen more clearly, more fully, and with more appreciation than ever before. Treating you like a burden instead of a person. This is one of the most painful shifts many older adults face, often silently. It happens when your children, whether they realize it or not, begin treating you more like an obligation than a loved one. Sometimes it's subtle, a long sigh when you ask for help, or a quick glance when plans need to be adjusted because of your needs. Other times, it's more direct. But no matter how it happens, the feeling it leaves behind is unmistakable. Over time, these seemingly small gestures can begin to take a toll. They wear down your sense of worth. You may start questioning whether your presence is inconvenient, whether your needs are too much, whether you're becoming a burden rather than someone who deserves love, respect, and consideration. Being treated like a burden doesn't always show up in harsh words. Sometimes it's quieter than that. It's in the way conversations suddenly feel shorter, how visits seem rushed, or how your suggestions are met with a polite smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes. At first, you may brush it off, thinking maybe you're just being sensitive or reading too much into things. But somewhere deep inside, you feel it. A growing sense that your presence has become something to manage rather than cherish. It's vital to remind yourself of this truth. Needing a bit more help as you age does not erase your value. Your worth is not measured by how productive or independent you appear to be. You are not here to be efficient or convenient. You are here because you have lived, contributed, and loved, and that matters. Your story, your wisdom, your years of giving as a parent, a partner, a friend, all of it holds deep meaning. Yet, as adult children juggle their own busy lives, work, parenting, bills, responsibilities, it's easy for them to lose perspective. Sometimes they start seeing only what you need from them, not who you are to them. Without realizing it, their words begin to sound less like expressions of love and more like items on a to-do list. I have to take Dad to the doctor. I need to check on Mom this weekend. These sentences may seem routine, but they're often framed like chores, not as conscious, caring choices. It's important to know that in many cases, your adult children aren't being intentionally hurtful. They might be overwhelmed, distracted, or simply unaware of how their tone and language make you feel. That doesn't make it right, but it does mean there's often a path forward, one built on understanding rather than conflict. And sometimes, that path begins with just one honest, heartfelt sentence. Saying something like, "I've been feeling like I'm in the way lately, and I just need to know that I still matter to you," can open a door. It's not about guilt, it's about truth. And more often than not, that kind of quiet honesty can be the start of a healing conversation, for both of you. That one sentence can be enough to open the door to a more honest, heartfelt connection. Because one thing people often forget is this. Aging is not a sign of weakness. It's a reflection of wisdom. It's the result of years of experience, learning, giving, and growing. You've earned the right to be seen, heard, respected, and included. Not because of what you can do for others today, but because of who you are and all that you've lived through. If you ever find yourself tiptoeing around your adult children's lives, afraid of asking for something or feeling like you need to justify your presence, that's a quiet warning bell. If you start believing that you must earn your place in the family or stay silent to remain accepted, it's time to take a closer look. You should never feel like you have to apologize for existing. You should never feel the need to shrink yourself just to stay in the background. You have the right to be fully present, to take up space, to express your thoughts and needs without fear of being dismissed. And above all, you deserve to be treated with kindness, not pity, not reluctant tolerance, but real, genuine human respect. If you're still with me in this video, and these reflections are resonating with you, I'd love for you to comment number 2 below to let me know you're still watching. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I truly recommend that you do and turn on the bell icon so you won't miss any future videos. Your support means a lot and allows us to keep creating content that's designed to inform, uplift, and empower you. Now, let's move forward, using guilt to control your time or money. This is one of the more subtle, yet deeply hurtful patterns that can sneak into the parent-child relationship. It doesn't always come across as aggressive or obvious. In fact, guilt is often quiet. It doesn't knock, it whispers. It shows up in small, emotionally charged phrases like, "I just thought you'd want to help," or "We didn't think you'd mind contributing." At first, it may seem like a simple request or a passing comment. But over time, it begins to shape how you feel, how you respond, and how much freedom you believe you truly have. Or they say something like, "After everything I've done, I figured you'd say yes." These words may sound like affection on the surface, but underneath, they carry something heavier: obligation. Guilt often wears the mask of closeness. It can feel like connection, but what it actually does is pressure you into silence or compliance. Many older adults find themselves agreeing to things they don't truly want to do, not because they're excited or willing, but because they fear the emotional fallout of saying no. It's not that they're trying to be passive, it's that disappointing someone you love, especially your child, can feel unbearable. You've spent a lifetime giving, sacrificing, showing up. So when your child asks for help or a favor, part of you feels like it's your role to keep giving, no matter what. But here's what often gets overlooked. When these requests become more frequent, or when your hesitation is met with disappointment, withdrawal, or guilt-laced reactions, your ability to say no starts to disappear. It's no longer a choice. You're not being asked. You're being guided by guilt. And that emotional weight is not light. It's especially hard in this later season of life when you've earned the right to use your time, energy, and resources for what nourishes you. Things that bring you peace, happiness, or even just simple rest. This isn't about rejecting your children or turning your back on family. It's about recognizing when your generosity is becoming a silent expectation. Most of the time, your children may not be doing this on purpose. They may truly believe they're just asking. They might not see how their words, their tone, or even their timing put quiet pressure on you. But the effect remains. You begin to feel that saying no will hurt them more than saying yes will hurt you. And that's when something has shifted. Imagine your daughter asks you to watch the grandkids 3 nights in a row, even though you've already made plans of your own. You hesitate, and she responds, "I guess I'll figure something out, even if it means missing my work deadline." It's subtle, but deeply impactful. In that moment, it's no longer about a simple favor. It's about managing disappointment, and it puts you in a position where your needs feel secondary. It may sound like a casual remark, but the message underneath is unmistakable. Your choice carries emotional consequences, and so you cancel your plans. Not because it brings you joy, not because it truly feels right, but because you don't want to let someone down. You give in, not out of love, but out of guilt. It's okay to stop in that moment and ask yourself, do I want to do this, or do I feel like I have to? That single, honest question can bring surprising clarity. It draws a line between giving freely and giving under quiet pressure. And once you begin to recognize that line, it becomes easier to respond, not with anger, but with both kindness and confidence. You might say something like, "I love helping when I can, but I also need time to take care of myself." Or, "I understand this situation is hard for you, but I hope you can respect that I have to say no this time." These words aren't selfish. They are strong, respectful, and necessary. They are about maintaining balance, a quality every healthy relationship needs, regardless of age, role, or family history. By setting boundaries in a calm, clear, and loving way, you're doing something powerful. You're showing your children that love does not require self-erasure, that true care honors both people, not just one, and that respect doesn't diminish with age. It deepens, it grows stronger, and it becomes the foundation for real connection. And here's the most beautiful part. When your children learn to truly respect your time, your decisions, and your space, the relationship often improves. They begin to see you not just as someone who gives, but as someone who deserves to be valued for who you are, a whole, complex, capable person. That's when true appreciation can take root. You deserve to feel free to spend your time in ways that bring you fulfillment. You deserve to use your money for things that make you happy, not out of obligation or guilt. And you absolutely deserve to say no, without fearing that your love will be questioned or withdrawn. Because real love doesn't hinge on guilt to survive. Real love understands boundaries. Disregarding your privacy and boundaries is another a troubling sign that something may be off in your relationship with your adult children is when they begin to disregard your privacy or personal boundaries. These moments may seem small at first, your son opening your mail just to check for something important, or your daughter walking into your bedroom without knocking because she needed to talk. On the surface, they might appear harmless, even caring. But when these actions happen repeatedly over time, they begin to send a different message. One that quietly tells you your space, your voice, and your autonomy are being overlooked. We all value our privacy, no matter our age. Whether we're 60, 70, or 85, it's not about hiding things. It's about maintaining dignity. Personal boundaries don't vanish with age. If anything, they become even more important. Having boundaries means you still have the right to decide when, where, and how people enter your life, physically and emotionally. But when those lines start to blur, it can leave you feeling invisible. It might begin with doors left open, personal information being shared in front of others, or your calendar being changed without your knowledge. And over time, these subtle dismissals begin to wear on your sense of control. You feel less like the decision-maker in your own life and more like a passive participant, like your preferences no longer matter. Picture this. Your daughter rearranges your medications on the kitchen counter to make them easier to reach, but she doesn't check with you first. Or your son shows up unannounced, assuming you'll be home and available, without ever asking if the timing works for you. These may be acts of concern, but when they bypass your input, they quietly undermine your ability to lead your own life. Your son shows up at your house early in the morning, unannounced, and even brings a few friends along. His intentions may be good, but that doesn't change the fact that a boundary has been crossed. When your personal space is entered without your consent, something subtle but significant begins to happen. It chips away at your inner sense of ownership, the deep-rooted right to call a space your own, a right you've earned through decades of living, working, and caring for others. And it doesn't stop there. These repeated intrusions can begin to erode trust. You may start to feel uneasy, expecting interruptions. Your door, once a symbol of safety and privacy, starts to feel less secure. Not just in a physical sense, but emotionally and mentally too. You might begin to hesitate before expressing how you really feel, unsure of who's listening, or how your words might be shared or interpreted. Sometimes, adult children confuse familiarity with permission. As roles naturally shift over the years, they may come to believe they know what's best for you. They assume that because they live nearby, they can come and go freely, without needing to check in. And they often justify this behavior with love. But here's the truth. Love without respect is incomplete. True love honors the full person, and that includes your evolving needs, your independence, and your boundaries. Your home, your routines, your quiet moments, these things have been yours for as long as you can remember. And yes, maybe now you appreciate help with meals, laundry, or getting errands done. But needing support doesn't erase your right to decide how and when that help is given. Assistance shouldn't mean surrendering your say. If this is happening in your life, you don't need to raise your voice or withdraw in silence. A simple, honest reminder, spoken with warmth and clarity, can shift the entire dynamic. Something as respectful as, "I appreciate your help, but I'd really prefer that you knock before coming in," can make all the difference. It reaffirms your autonomy without creating conflict. And more importantly, it reestablishes the truth that your home, your time, and your choices still belong to you. This isn't about shutting people out. It's about inviting them in, on your terms. You deserve that dignity. You've spent a lifetime building a home, a life, and a sense of self. That space, both physical and emotional, is yours. And you still have every right to control how it's respected and shared. You've earned that right, not just by age, but by experience, wisdom, and presence. Being in control of your surroundings isn't about being rigid or distant. It's about being seen and treated as the full person you are, capable, thoughtful, and worthy of respect. If you're still watching this video and finding these reflections meaningful, I'd love to hear from you. Just comment number 4 below to let me know you're still here and engaged. And if you haven't already subscribed, I encourage you to do that now and turn on notifications. That way, you won't miss out on future videos designed to inform and inspire. Your support helps keep this content going and growing. Let's move forward, ignoring your wisdom or life experience. Few things cut deeper than being dismissed, especially when it comes from the very people you've nurtured, guided, and raised. As we grow older, it's not uncommon to find that our voices are interrupted, our stories cut short, or our opinions politely ignored. What starts as a small pattern, being overlooked in a conversation or waved off in a family discussion, can quietly bruise your sense of identity. You've lived through decades of change. You've experienced global shifts, wars, recessions, social revolutions, and technological upheavals. But you've also lived through personal triumphs and heartbreaks. You've raised families, faced loss, built homes, careers, relationships, and rebuilt again when life asked you to. That kind of wisdom isn't just valuable, it's irreplaceable. But when your children respond to your insight as if it's outdated or irrelevant, it can feel like they're telling you your time has passed, that your thoughts no longer fit in their world. And that message, whether spoken or implied, can sting. You may recognize the pattern. You offer advice on something you've lived through, marriage, parenting, finances, and your son or daughter replies, "It's not like that anymore." The words may be brief, but their weight lingers. Or they say, "You just don't understand." On the surface, these might sound like harmless, offhand comments, but beneath them lies something more cutting. Whether they realize it or not, these words signal something painful, that your insight isn't needed, that your experience no longer carries weight. This kind of dismissal, especially when it happens repeatedly, may seem small in the moment. After all, every generation believes it has discovered a better way to do things. But over time, these comments can begin to wear you down. You may start to second-guess yourself. You hesitate before offering advice or sharing memories. You hold back, wondering, maybe I really am out of touch. But the truth is, you're not. Wisdom doesn't become irrelevant. It doesn't expire. It grows. It adapts. And yours has been forged through real life, not theories, not trends, not just words on a screen. Your knowledge was shaped by trial and error, by resilience, by years of caring and showing up even when it was hard. Sure, the tools have changed. Smartphones instead of rotary phones, texts instead of handwritten letters, but the essence of life hasn't shifted all that much. Love, grief, relationships, growth, these are timeless. And those navigating them today still need guidance, whether they ask for it or not. What often goes unnoticed is that it's not only what you say that matters, it's how you say it. When you speak from experience with calm, with grace, and without judgment, your words land differently. They settle in. They stick. And more often than not, your children are listening. They may not show it right away. They may need to hear it more than once. They may even roll their eyes in the moment. But later, when the noise fades and life gets quiet again, your voice echoes. That story you told, that gentle warning, that quiet reassurance, it stays with them. Not because it was loud or forceful, but because it came from someone who has lived it, felt it, survived it. Let's be honest, being ignored doesn't hurt just because you were interrupted. It hurts because it makes you feel invisible, as if the years you've lived don't matter anymore. It doesn't hurt simply because it feels disrespectful. It hurts because it erases something deeper, your sense of contribution. For someone who has spent a lifetime giving, creating, guiding, and nurturing others, being brushed aside can feel like a piece of your purpose is slipping away. But don't let that cause you to go quiet. Don't let it convince you that you no longer have something to offer. Because the truth is, you still do. Your voice still holds value. Your experiences still carry meaning. And within you are lessons that, if heard, might save your children heartache or help guide them through their own moments of uncertainty. More than anything, your presence matters, not just for what you've accomplished in the past, but for who you are right now in this moment. If you start to notice that your insights are being dismissed, take a pause before retreating. You don't have to argue or demand attention, but you can stand tall in your experience, confident in what you've lived and learned. Sometimes it's as simple as saying, "I know things are different now, but this is what I've learned from my time," or, "I've been through something like that. If you ever want to talk, I'm here." You don't have to push your wisdom onto others. Just being available, calm, and present can make all the difference. Because the truth is, they still need you. They may not always say it. They may not even realize it themselves. But beneath their independence and busy lives, they're still looking to you, not just for advice, but for guidance on how to carry themselves in this world. And often, your example speaks far louder than your words ever could. Now, as we bring this conversation to a close, I want to invite you to take a quiet moment for yourself. Just pause and reflect on what you've heard. Think about the 5 patterns we've discussed today. Maybe one of them stood out to you, maybe several, or perhaps this is the first time you've even thought about them at all. That's okay. Awareness doesn't always strike like lightning. Sometimes it shows up like a soft light, gently illuminating things we've been tolerating without realizing it. Getting older doesn't mean giving up your place at the table. It doesn't mean fading into the background. If anything, it means stepping into a new kind of strength, a quiet, rooted power that calmly asserts, you are still here, you are still growing, you are still learning, and yes, you are still absolutely worthy of respect. These behaviors we've discussed, being treated like a burden, having your privacy dismissed, or your wisdom overlooked, are not just minor annoyances. They touch something deeper. They affect how you see yourself, how you relate to your own worth. And when you begin to see that, really see it, you also begin to understand this. Speaking up isn't about creating conflict. It's about preserving your identity. It's not about blame. It's not about pointing fingers at your children or holding on to past resentment. It's about something quieter, deeper, pulling yourself back to the center of your own life. It starts with recognizing the small ways you may have been sidelined over time, and then, gently but firmly, choosing to step back into your space. This can be done with compassion, with clarity, and with the wisdom you've spent a lifetime developing. Now is the moment to use it, not to fight, but to realign. Maybe that means saying no without guilt. Maybe it's asking for privacy without feeling the need to justify it. Or maybe it's as simple as trusting that your story, your voice, and your presence still hold value, even if it's expressed differently than before. Because the truth is, your story still matters. It always has, and it always will. So, what resonated with you the most today? Which of these patterns did you recognize in your own life, or in the life of someone you care about? I'd truly love to hear your thoughts. Please take a moment to share in the comments below. Let us know what stood out to you, and more importantly, how you plan to use it in your own journey. Your voice matters here. Reading your reflections gives us not only encouragement, but also a sense of connection. If this video offered you insight or comfort, please take a second to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might benefit too. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. Wishing you continued health, happiness, and peace And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this.